Waza! This episode of the Chalkboard Podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/chalkboard.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Chalkboard Podcast. We are bringing you conversations from our home, Kansas City, Missouri. My name is Eric, and with me, as always, is my best friend and co-host, Micah. What's up, buddy?
Hey, dude, how's it going?
I just looked and you were staring me down with the camera.
Yeah, man. Can I tell you a quick story?
Go on.
The other morning, I was setting off to begin my day at work, and I looked down and I said, man, my fingernails could use a little trim. So headed back inside, started to trim my nails. My son, he's 3, came up to me and goes, Dad, you should cut your nails like Black Panther, like claws.
That's so dangerous.
I know. I thought about doing it, and then I was like, I can't do that. So I did cut my toenails like that, and I've ruined every pair of socks I have and some of my softer shoes.
You gotta watch that.
But
all your Chuck Taylors are ruined.
But man, can I claw?
Yeah,
Can you
claw?
climb
really well now
Yeah.
too?
Oh, yeah.
I like that you have time. When I leave for work, there's no time. If I see long fingernails, that's the way they are for that day.
That's the way it's just going to happen.
It's just the way it is.
Things will never be the same. That's just the way it is.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. I got another anecdote for you.
Hit me with another one.
It's not as an anecdote as much as it is I ate some pizza I liked. So we're sponsored by Blaze Pizza.
I don't remember this sponsorship.
It's not a sponsorship. But anytime I like something, I'm going to say we're sponsored by it.
That's wishful thinking right there.
LeBron James owns a pizza company that is a better version of Pie 5. And they opened one up in Olathe, and I stopped by there on Sunday. And it was opening day, and they were giving away free pizzas.
Oh, man.
And it was delicious, man. Much better than Pie 5. They have aguas frescas. They have Big Sky sodas, like the fancy sodas on tap. Just a real fine place. And to know that it's backed by someone like LeBron James makes me happy.
That's why it's so quality. The guy doesn't know how to do things halfway.
I am the biggest marketing sucker ever. If you're like, LeBron James owns a pizza place, I'm going there.
I have 4 Tidal subscriptions.
I rub Icy Hot all over my body because Shaq sells it. I don't even need it.
I was trying to think of some more, and I'm blanking.
I've built up an immunity to Icy Hot. I have to drink it to make it work.
I wear Wranglers because of Brett Favre.
Oh, gosh.
That's Silver Fox.
Eric, tell the people about the episode today.
All right. This episode, we sat down with Adam and Stephanie Carey, who just recently bought The Pitch.
Yeah, man. The Pitch is Kansas City's alternative magazine, something that means a lot to us. And we got to talk to them a little bit about their vision for The Pitch, what they hope to bring to the magazine, kind of how they're getting more engaged and involved in Kansas City and getting Kansas Cityans more engaged with The Pitch.
Yeah, let's dive into it.
All right, we are here with Adam and Stephanie Carey. Adam and Stephanie, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So just first question right off the bat is what is The Pitch? Say you're on vacation and people say, hey, what do you guys do? And you say, we own The Pitch. Pitch the pitch to them and us.
The Pitch
How many
is...
times do you say pitch?
Yeah, I say it a lot in my day. The Pitch is Kansas City's alternative news magazine. So usually I find out where somebody's from if I was on vacation, and they would say Chicago, and I would say, oh, it's like The Reader in Chicago. I will find the comparative publication in that market.
Did you know the comparative publications before you bought it, or did you just do the research?
No, I've been a member of the Association of Alternative News Media for over 7 years now.
Okay, so you know your stuff.
Yeah, and I was a vendor partner for them. So I sold to these guys for years. And in doing so, I got to know basically everyone. And I know I can basically pull the alternative publication out of most cities.
So
awesome.
You guys are from Kansas City.
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit earlier offline about Blue Valley schools and Shawnee Mission schools and all that. What's your relationship to The Pitch? Did you grow up reading The Pitch? When did you?
Yeah. So for me, I've always been kind of a news junkie, and back in high school in the mid '90s, when I first was able to start driving, I would go the morning The Pitch got released and grab one, and you could flip through it and see all the different vendors that would have sneak preview passes. So you drive over to Elite Comics, and they would have a sneak preview pass to the newest superhero movie that was coming out. And usually you got to see it like 2 weeks ahead of time, and it was a free pass. So I drive around to three or four different places every week and get all these free movie passes, and so I can go see free movies.
That's a great
and then I'd have the magazine to read the articles, and I was really a big fan of the long form journalism in it, and that's kind of where it started for me, and I've been reading it ever since.
We have better ways of driving foot traffic for our advertisers now. Although that was a very effective way in the 90s.
Yes.
What movies are we talking?
Yeah.
So probably the worst and best experience was Sixth Sense. I got passes to that. We actually had passes to that and Mystery Men back to back. So that they were like Mystery Men, I think, was during the afternoon, and then Sixth Sense was in the evening. So we got to go both of those
What a
back to
double
back,
feature of a
right?
day.
The problem was Sixth Sense was 2 months before it came out.
Oh, no.
No.
So my buddy and I walk out of this movie, and we walked out and we went, shh, we can't talk to anyone. Like, we cannot even mention this movie to people because you don't want to let them know there's a huge twist at the end.
Yeah.
So we had to be totally tight-lipped about the entire thing for 2 months, and it was awful, but great.
I feel like I would have to leave the country for 2 months to not spoil that for people.
I haven't seen The Sixth Sense. What happened? No, I'm kidding.
Stephanie, what about you? What was your relationship to the pitch?
Well, I didn't really get into the pitch until I moved back to Kansas City in 2004 or 5 or 3, somewhere in that range. It all blends together. And
After The Sixth Sense.
After the Sixth Sense was the thing. And I was working for a legal newspaper in Kansas City called the Daily Record. And in doing so, I was a reporter. And the pitch was just kind of like the cool club. Like I would go to Press Club, which is an organization of journalists in Kansas City. And I just fangirled all over the pitch writers every single time I went. And I thought, I'm just not even cool enough to ever write for the pitch, which is probably true. So I just bought it. So
That's a great.
That really caught me off guard. That was
greatest
great.
anecdote of all time. What do you remember? And I think that probably connects to what the pitch does now. But what are some of the things that an alternative paper does that the mainstream paper doesn't? Like, what kind of things does it have? Obviously, free movie passes. You remember that in the Star or the Smithville Herald.
yeah, well, there's a lot more arts and culture coverage in an alternative publication typically, as well as we have more room for food and restaurant coverage. And since we don't come out daily, we have really fine-tuned the long-form journalism that Adam mentioned earlier in the conversation. So, yeah, did I miss anything?
No, I mean, well, there's the back page ads, but
That's what I remember.
The infamous backpage ads, yeah.
that's something that everyone always talks about. And that in the calendar. When we were looking to acquire, and people, we'd tell our friends or just some other people around the town. Hey, what do you think about this? And they go, well, what are you doing with the calendar? I missed that. Can we have that back? And
Well, just a little context. So the former company that we bought it from, they had taken the pitch monthly and kind of cut down on the staff. I shouldn't even say cut down on the staff. And in doing so, there was just no one. Filling a calendar is a lot of work. And so there was just no one dedicated to that. And so they just stopped doing it altogether. And from somebody who likes to do things really well, I understand kind of why they did that. But it was just the most important thing they had. So we were excited to bring it back.
yeah, absolutely.
So what kind of stuff goes on the calendar? How do you fill it?
Anything and everything, as long as it's a legitimate event. I don't.
Not Fire Festival.
Right?
Oh, yes.
What's Fire Festival?
Fire Festival was a music festival.
Yeah,
I remember that.
guy
I was
I'm
showing you the
sorry.
pictures.
I'm sorry.
The guy committed wire fraud, and now he's going to jail for possibly 80 years.
And that was who was the
Ja Rule.
Ja Rule,
I was
yes.
gonna say it was Ja Rule.
And also,
yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
Blink-182 supposed to be there?
They
or
were supposed to
something?
play. And
There's
then,
a lot of bands that
Yeah.
are supposed to be like, this may not be the best move for us, guys.
yeah, they saw the pictures and they went, maybe we'll stay home on this one.
Yeah.
So the calendar is legitimate events that are
Yes.
happening in Kansas City. Is that
Yes.
online or print or both?
Well, it's online mostly because we're a monthly publication, so we do print some of the highlights from the calendar in print. But the problem with that is that somebody could pick up the publication today, or they could pick it up at the end of March. And then they're looking at this calendar, and so it's not up to date. So when we were weekly, and a lot of alternatives are still weekly, we could keep up on a more in-print, robust calendar. But I think people like to get their stuff on their phones now anyway. So that's why I think the calendar is just great for digital.
Yeah, the calendar for the in the print is more kind of like a, hey, here's some highlights of what's going on.
Yeah.
So some big shows in KC this month. If you want to see everything that's going on, come check out the site, and we should have a much more robust list. You know, we're cultivating vendors right now, trying to get them to make sure, hey, when you have an event come up, make sure you add it to the pitch calendar.
Yeah,
'cause-
it's also self-serve, so
Right.
you can add your own events, and what we will do is we approve them for you. So we make sure it's not Firefest.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
we don't want to know about the thing in your basement.
Yeah.
yeah, we don't want to know about that. But if you have a psychic fair or pet rock show convention, I do want to know about that.
Yep.
You know, weird stuff is definitely accepted.
The reptile convention coming to Overland Park.
Wait,
soon.
what?
There's a reptile convention.
Yeah, Overland
Yeah.
Park Convention Center.
I want
It's
to
in
know.
April.
I want to know if it's where they sell the illegal snakes.
Oh, no, that's in somebody's basement. That can't go on the calendar.
Yeah, that can, that's,
If you want, I will tell you this: if you want an illegal snake
No.
in Kansas City, you have to go to a basement.
I don't. I don't want them. I don't want to go to
Uh,
a convention with them.
yeah,
Yeah.
that it kind of seems. A
I
little
would be
bit.
paralyzed with
Good.
fear if that. I wouldn't be able to step foot in that convention. I'm not a reptile guy.
So some of the things you guys were saying about the pitch is, at least Stephanie, what you were saying about kind of fangirling over the writers and the pitch. Like we grew up, I think, loving the pitch. I remember I was a journalism major in college, and just knowing the pitch, seeing the pitch out there, this thing that was free that you could just like pull out of a bin on the street and read and get stuff about art and music and culture in Kansas City was a pretty big thing for me.
It was super important when we moved downtown because it's how we knew it. And I mean, not to date ourselves, but
Right.
mobile phones or like cell phones or smartphones hadn't really taken off. And so you would get the pitch and you would figure out what you're doing, and then you'd look it up and see what's going on around town. And so it really did help shape our taste a lot when we first moved down here.
Yeah, so that's kind of our story. Just in general, I know there's been, a lot of stuff in the news and the industry of all newspapers closing down or just going digital. So first, I just want to hear, like, why do you think Kansas City, you obviously are investing in this and making it, a lot of your life's work. Why are alt newspapers important, and why is it important to Kansas City to have one?
Well, I think you have to have an independent voice. And, we have the Star in Kansas City, but the Pitch has the opportunity to be the non-corporate place for journalists, and a place where, again, the longer form pieces can live. And we can give journalists a little bit of breathing. If you were a journalist, like a little bit of breathing room. It's not like deadline. Of course we do have deadlines, but the daily cycle can really put a damper on really cultivating a story. So I think that's it.
We can also really focus a lot more on the arts. With maybe like a paper like the Star, they might have to focus on, I don't want to say clickbait, but they have to get eyeballs. Have to get eyeballs because it's corporate, so you have to have a return on that. And the arts don't always drive the clicks, but they're important, and their stories need to be told. So we like to make sure that we're telling long form journalism that really gets investigative and gets into the nitty gritty of what's going on in the city. But we also want to tell the stories of the neat arts events that are going on in the city and what people are doing with the arts. Again, having a monthly publication allows them to really draw those stories out and really get to the meat of them.
What are some? So you guys took over December 31st, as you said. What are some of those investigative stories that you guys have gotten to kind of work on or?
Well, just to be clear, neither of us are writing anything for the Pitch.
Sure.
I will write a letter from the publisher in the beginning of the book, but nobody wants me. I was never cool enough to write for the Pitch, and that holds true. So, David Hudnall, our editor-in-chief, is really leading the charge on those stories.
And he's written for the Pitch for a while, right?
Yeah, so he wrote for the Pitch, and then he actually went off to work for another alternative news publication in Raleigh, North Carolina, a publisher friend of mine. And it was funny when it was announced that we got the Pitch, first thing she said is she sent me an email and she's like, "Oh man, you got David." So, and I respect the crap out of her. Like, she's great. So just to hear that. So he's got chops, but not just Kansas City chops. You know, he got out of the market and got to experience another publication, which I think is really important.
Yep. And he does great work.
Oh, did I answer? I don't think I answered the question.
So what kind of
Right.
what kind of investigative stories has the
I-
pitch? I know
I
you guys
loved-
aren't on the ground
I-
interviewing, but
I love David's story about the Westport Sidewalk Vacation. It was in our February issue. You know, it was kind of his first story that he was writing while also being editor, and so it was a little more condensed. But I mean, he really got to the heart of, hey, you know, this is an issue that does have multiple sides, and it looks like all sides are actually working to provide a real solution, rather than being alarmist or say, you know, oh, you know, this group is doing a horrible thing, or this group is reacting horribly. Or, like, he got down to the heart of it and said, look, here's how it's happening. Both sides are working together to make something that's, you know, that's acceptable for everyone and it's good for the city. And in a very sober, thought-provoking way. And we got great response from, you know, the Westport Business League. We got great response from, you know, across the board, people on both sides of the issue. So it really showed that, you know, that voice is important to everybody.
so you guys own the pitch. You're the publishers would be kind of the official.
She's the
industry.
publisher.
You are the publisher. That's the official. Well, so what's your day-to-day like? I mean, what is your role? How much influence, or, you know, what's your role in all of this?
I'm very hands-on. So
Okay.
Typical Monday will start with a sales meeting, which I lead. And then, you know, working with the sellers, going out, having calls with them, answering calls from readers, taking incoming calls from people who want to take advertising out, briefly chatting with David about what he's got going on, but really leaving that editorial process completely independent to him, because he's gonna run that part of the business. Also, fun things, I get letters from prison, which is one of the highlights of my day.
Go on.
Yeah. Same here.
Well, you know, prisoners like the pitch too.
Yeah.
And so they'll write us sometimes they'll just send us Bible verses. One guy, we think he was writing in Greek, but we weren't sure because we don't read that.
Huh.
So,
This is new to me. She's never told me this.
yeah, well, this is just, we've gotten our third letter, I think.
Okay.
So we're keeping them in a file
Do you
folder.
send the pitch to prison, or do they just
They
do it?
ask for it, but
Okay.
we're not going to do that.
Okay.
Because I can't send 40 prison. Yeah, it could get out of control.
So outside of the fan mail, what does the rest of your day look like?
Well, it's a lot of just working with my staff and
Yeah.
talking to local businesses. That's really what I do on a daily basis. I do have a fair amount of time where people call me and want old content taken down because it's maybe less than flattering.
Yeah.
And how do you respond to that?
No.
Yeah. Good.
The answer is
Appreciate
no.
that.
Yeah, we can't do that. It's there's so many reasons why, but So today, one of my issues was talking to a seller who wanted to put an insert in the paper that had that. Apparently, you know that sticky stuff when you get something on a newspaper? It's called booger glue. Like literally,
yeah.
yeah. And then you can ball it up in your fingers.
You know exactly what it is when you say the name. Yeah.
Yep. So it was an insert that would be stuck in there with booger glue. Gross. And he was like, well, we can't put it on ads. And I said, well, we can't put it on editorial content. So that was kind of today's big thing. And every day there's just something different. We did have an interesting call from a local person about a grievance against a local business that he just wanted to tell us about, you know? So it can be like that, you know. And,
But I'm sure, as you know, an independent alternative paper, that's where you get some tips and things like that
Sure.
for stories.
This particular call was not typical, but hilarious.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a lot of your days obviously spent with your staff. Is a lot of that staff brought in from the previous regime? Did you bring on a whole new staff? How did it all work?
Yeah, so we basically kept everyone and promoted David from staff writer to editor. So the previous company made one change to the staff prior to us taking over, and then we did that. And then we brought in one new position, which is a digital editor. And I mentioned the calendar. One of the things that she's focused on is the calendar, but she does all of our social media, and she's working on having our online voice be consistent with our print voice. She works very closely with David in that regard of having that authentic voice, and she's also the brains behind our email program. So, previously the pitch would send out, they called them e-blasts. So my very first sales meeting, I wanted to come in with a water gun and to spray them all. And I want to say, how do you like being blasted? But I thought that was a little aggressive for my first day.
That's a real
leader.
Michael Scott move.
Yeah, right. No, please, no, don't compare me. But yeah, so we have stopped blasting our readers with content, and we have started to send them relevant content and making sure that content has a great voice and is consistent with the pitch's brand that we want to convey. So we did bring on Kelsey, our digital editor, and she's like a rock star. So
I didn't believe in the email success stories at all. I'm like, email's dead, blah, 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 blah. And as we started going through the process of acquiring the pitch, I started to look a little closer, like my habits and what I did. And I realized I was opening the emails that were relevant to me. I'd get, spam emails all the time. But then I started thinking, okay, well, the ones that I opted into, those are the ones that we're trying to cultivate, is people that opt into these lists or people that opt into specific advertisers or whatever. I found that the more I looked at it, the more, the ones that I actually do have interest in, I am opening those emails, and it is creating a call to action for me to where they go, here's a cool sale, or here's a thing that you want to know about. And I go, God, they got me.
It does work.
Like, this does actually work.
2 days later, a package arrives at the house.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So you're talking about hiring a digital editor and kind of.
That was our investment in digital.
Sure.
So, it was really important to us because we didn't just buy this paper, magazine, what have you, that you pick up on racks every month. We bought an audience, and you engage with that audience in many ways. Some people are engaged with our emails. Some people are, I follow you on Facebook, and that's great.
Yeah.
Some people go to our website. Some people, will be on Twitter and see David tweet something that he's written. So there's really so many ways to connect with us that it was important for us to invest in that, the digital side of us.
But the print really matters
Oh,
to you guys,
absolutely.
and that's what I think. That's something I'm really interested in, is the fact that all you hear, if you're not really listening, is like print is dead or print is dying or people don't read newspapers anymore. So talk about your decision to. It seems like you're pretty set on keeping that monthly print edition. Why is that? Why does that matter to you? And
it's a huge part of our brand. And, it's just one of the many ways we communicate with our readers every month. So why would we kill that part of our product? And, there's something about picking it up and thumbing through it and seeing a story. I read a story different in print than I do online. So, and the experience of reading in print is different than reading online. So there's just so many reasons, but it's a core part of our business. And I think it's a way we're serving Kansas City by having a print publication every month. I mean, I wish we could be more frequent, honestly, but for now, this is where we are.
Well, and one of the things that I have been hearing a lot now from people that are either new in town or have been here for only a few years or, that have been here for their whole lives. When they first got to town, they'd ask, what's there to do around here? Like, or, how do I find out what Kansas City's like? And invariably people say, go pick up a pitch. And that gives you in kind of an inside view to KC.
Yeah.
So you can say, go to pitch.com. You may or may not do that. You're going to forget that.
Yeah.
But if you're out and someone told you go pick up a pitch, and then you're over at the local coffee shop or local bar, and you see one over there. Oh, hey, yeah, someone told me to pick this up, and you're gonna pick it up and you're gonna flip through it. It's a tactile thing. People still like to have that tactile thing.
Not completely, because if you tell me to go to thepitch.com, I'm just gonna Google things to do in Kansas City.
Right, exactly.
Like it's so much easier to do that.
Yep.
But if I'm at a coffee shop and I see them sitting in the bin, I'm gonna go pick one up.
Right. But if you
Makes
Google
it
things to
better.
do in Kansas City, you're gonna get a mishmash of just random stuff that you're
Exactly.
never gonna find what you want to do. Whereas if you go to our calendar, you're going to find a well-cultivated
Like
list.
a curated list for
Yes.
sure.
So outside of hiring a digital and kind of going a little bit more into make an investment of that. What changes have you made, or are you planning to make to the pitch, or like things you want to expand on, things you want to grow?
Well, we're offering a lot of new things to our advertisers as services. So, for example, I mentioned the email program has had some improvements to it. We're offering sponsored content opportunities that have our authentic pitch voice and take a journalistic sort of backing to them. We have promotional opportunities to do contests and quizzes and engaging polls and ballots. So there's a lot of new stuff coming, and hopefully you guys will all like it.
The key word is engagement.
Yeah.
And that's what's important. You know, that under a corporate environment with Southcom, there wasn't a lot of engagement with the readership. And therefore, advertisers didn't get a lot of engagement. So we want to engage with our audience. We want to be able to have our advertisers engage with our audience.
And people in Kansas City want to engage.
Yeah.
Look at we're recording this the week after the infamous Brooklyn barbecue tweet.
Oh, yeah.
Munchies tweeted out that picture of Brooklyn barbecue taking over the world. And I saw more, not even just backlash, but more people in Kansas City just up in arms about that picture.
I do think the Memphis Grizzlies had the best response.
What did
They tweeted the local Memphis police and told them the crime had been committed.
Yes.
And then the police responded. We're launching an investigation immediately.
It's the greatest thing ever.
It's incredible. But yeah, I think it's taking those things. I mean, barbecue is kind of it's a stereotypical thing about Kansas City, but a good stereotypical thing. But it's taking those things that Kansas Cityans care about, I think.
Well, I can speak to events as well, because one of the things that the pitch was really good at was doing events. So it's something that we're just ramping up even further. And we had our first as owners event was brunched, and that was a brunch event at the Madrid. And I think what really got me about it was a Saturday morning in February. It was cold. I just thought, I personally just want to stay in bed today. But then there was
You'd also just broken your wrist.
Well, there was that. I had fallen on the ice recently and broken my wrist, and had surgery the day before.
Yeah.
But there was a line around the door.
I heard it was one of my coworkers went. He said it was jam packed.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
And it was really fun. And it just reminded me how important this is.
Yeah.
Seeing the people in person.
So what other events besides brunch do you guys have coming up, or
We
in
have
the works?
bacon and bourbon coming up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Tell
and
us more.
That's going to be April 12th at the
Yes.
Guild.
Okay.
And it's a ticketed event, so you can go to our website and find tickets there. And it's what it sounds like. It's going to be tastes of food with bacon in them and lots of bourbon.
I'm excited.
We'll be there.
You can't go.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
go wrong with that.
We also have some virtual events. I don't know if this podcast will come out after Taco Week, but Taco Week is March 19th through the 25th. And then we'll have like a pizza week and a burger week too throughout the year. So a lot of events. If being in person isn't your jam, you just want to kind of experience something on your own time, then those are great weeks.
So going back, and I know this is kind of going around it the back way, but why did you guys decide to buy the pitch? I mean, outside of being a business decision, like why buy it? Why take that on?
Well, the true story.
Sure.
Preferably, yes.
No, I mean, this is kind of the behind-the-scenes story. I mentioned that I was part of the Association of Alternative News Media and a very active person in that group. And this past summer in Washington, D.C. was a summer conference, and I was there representing my former company and doing sales training and consulting to other alternatives. And I may have had some cocktails at the bar one night, and I may have told the company that owned the pitch how I someday would love to own an alternative publication. And then a few weeks later, I got a call. So, but the real story is that I am passionate about local media, and this was just, I couldn't say no to the opportunity. It was too exciting, too important, and I'm ready for it.
Well, and she's kind of being a little modest here too. You know, when they called her, I mean, they basically said, "Look, you're Kansas City through and through. You know, your background recently with what you've done with other alternative weeklies and alternative magazines, helping them increase their digital presence and digital revenues. Like, this is a natural fit for you. Like you are the perfect person to take on the pitch right now.
Also, I'm weird enough.
And she's very weird too. Yes.
Yeah.
The pitch needs a weird person.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that we haven't really talked about, but that I think is really important is just, you know, the local media that does investigative journalism, is an independent, does entertainment updates, but also just like providing more spaces for writers and photographers and reporters and now people who want to do digital stuff. I mean, I just think that's really admirable, is creating, you know, a business that is able to employ people and allow people to live out those roles and grow in those strengths.
Hey, I was once a fresh out of college reporter myself,
Yeah.
and there was a newspaper in North Carolina that took a chance on me, and that was the start of my career. So I'll never forget that.
Yeah, one of our favorite writers is a guy from Houston named Shea Serrano, and he started writing for the Houston Alternative Weekly.
Oh, the
paper
Houston
down there.
Press.
The Houston Press. He
Yep.
just like started sending them like Houston rap reviews and writing
awesome.
for them. And
I
now
know the
he,
publisher, Stuart.
Really? Yeah.
Good
and he's
guy.
like now a New York Times bestseller. So I think it's cool.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Well, if you know anyone that's in college right now, we just did put out a request for interns. So
Cool.
A couple of different opportunities there.
Yeah.
So if you're into marketing, if you're into design, or if you're into editorial, there'll be some opportunities for you.
Yeah, how can they get in contact with you?
I'm just Stephanie, Stephanie, which is the only right way to spell Stephanie. And now there's going to be like 5 Stephanies spelled with an F that are going to contact me. But it's just Stephanie@pitch.com.
What's the weirdest way you've ever seen Stephanie spelled?
Stephany. It's just,
Oh, the Y. Hit me.
yeah, it's breaking both rules.
I've actually seen it with a double Y.
Oh, I haven't.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's-
Like STEFYN.
Y.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
guess
not a real. That's
Stephanie.
Yeah.
I think you have to say it
Stephanie.
like
It's
that.
like,
yeah.
were their parents drunk when they filled out
might have been.
their birth certificate?
Here's what happens when you drink. You either get to buy a publication or you name your child Stephanie with 7 Ys. I don't know which one.
Well,
feel-
Adam and Stephanie, we are really glad that we got to sit down with you and hear more about the pitch, and we love what you guys are doing. So keep it up, and thanks for being with us.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening to our episode with Adam and Stephanie Carey. It was great to get to talk to them about the pitch and their vision for the magazine. You can follow Stephanie on Instagram and Twitter as @QueenOfQuirky. Follow the pitch on Twitter @TheFastPitch, and the pitch on Instagram @ThePitchKC.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening this week and every week. We really appreciate it. If you want more of the Chalkboard, make sure to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Also, you can visit our website, chalkboardpodcast.com. If you're a regular listener to the podcast or you just love what you heard, make sure to rate, share, and subscribe to this podcast however you listen. Our theme song is Killers, written and performed by Salar Rajabnik, and you can get his music on Spotify, Apple Music, however you stream. That's it for us this week. We'll see you next time.